Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the AmandaFest podcast, where our mission is simple. It's to inspire and empower you to take aligned action towards your dream life, whatever that looks like for you. It has been a wild month. I decided to take the month of August off of the podcast to be fully present. There was a lot going on, lots of movement. I was in 5 different cities. I went to 2 music festivals. I saw 24 DJ sets, and I have so many stories to tell you guys. So we are going to have an action-packed, very fun debrief, spill the tea type episode. But before we do that, as we've done with every episode, we're going to take a moment to ground down. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if it's safe to do so, I invite you to close down your eyes. I like to put a hand on my heart and one on my belly just to connect to myself and my breath. And we're just going to start breathing in together, in through the nose and out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And as you breathe in through your nose, I invite you to think about an intention, something you want to call in, something you'd like to be filled up with, you'd like more of. Breathing that intention in through your nose. And letting go anything that is no longer in alignment with that intention out through the mouth. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. One more, just like that. In through the nose. And out through the mouth. Shake it out, make some noise, do what you gotta do. You guys, I'm so happy to be back. It's been a month. It's been a freaking month since our last episode, and so much has happened, like an insane amount. As I mentioned earlier, this past month, I have been in 5 different cities. I was in New York City, Denver, Boulder, Nashville, and Chicago. I'm currently in Chicago in my sister's beautiful new apartment, helping her move in. She is at work right now. She's just started her first big girl job as a lawyer, which is so insane to me. I remember when I was a kid, my mom used to tell me that she never felt older. She goes, the only way you can really tell the passage of time is through children. Obviously, I don't have any children yet, so it's hard. But like, my baby sister is a lawyer. It's so crazy to me. And I'm in her beautiful apartment in Chicago, and I'm so proud of her. And I'm just so grateful to be here in this moment right now. This apartment is also making me really wish that I had my own professional studio, because I mean, look at this lighting, this setup. It is so nice. I am really excited down the line one day to have a real studio and to be able to have guests come in and talk to them in real life. But for now, this is what we're doing. This is what we got. I made myself a promise that I wasn't going to let logistics hold me back from starting this podcast. And so these first 100 episodes or so are going to be scrappy, and for those of you who have been here since the beginning, thank you so much. For those of you who just discovered me and are now going back to older episodes, this is how we started. You just start. So let's get into it. So I started the beginning of August, finishing a month in New York. So as you guys know, I am currently a full-time nomad, traveling from place to place. At the end of June, I flew to New York for the end of June and the month of July. I had the most amazing, expansive, fun month in New York City. New York City has always been like a second home to me. People ask me if I have a home base, and I really don't, because I have nowhere that I'm traveling in between. When I'm on a trip, there's nowhere that I'm coming home to. I just kind of go from place to place, which has been a wild experience. But New York is where my brother lives. It's where my best friends live. My parents have a place there, and so it feels like home when I'm there. And I had the most amazing time. It's been really interesting. The last few years of travel, just really getting to experience that sadness whenever I leave a place. There's so much duality to it. There's excitement for what's to come and an excitement for the next trip and what's happening. But then there's a loss and a sorrow and a pain that goes with saying goodbye to a place that feels good and comfortable, especially now that I've started to slow down my travel. Although August was definitely not a slow travel month, but in general, I'm trying to stay places longer so I have an opportunity to get into a routine, to root, to ground, and to just really soak up the place and the people and the experience. And so New York was so magical. My last couple of weeks there, my friend Lyle flew in and we ended up doing a whole bunch of fun things together. There was lots of parties and other ships. Other Ship is the sauna cold plunge place that I love. Lots of walks in the park. Just beautiful, nourishing, and I love New York. And I'm excited to go back. I'm actually going back tomorrow. So this year, there has been a lot of movement. I started the year off in Mexico. I was in Playa del Carmen and Tulum. February and March, I spent in Miami. April, I spent in Mexico City. May, I bounced around to like 6 different cities. I was in Mexico City, Miami, St. Louis, Atlanta, and LA, all within the month of May. June, I went back to Miami for a little bit, and then I was in New York the end of June. All of July, I was in New York City, and then August comes, and August's itinerary, as I mentioned, started in New York City, and then I went to Denver and Boulder, kind of going back and forth between the two, Nashville, now Chicago, then I'm going back to New York City. So I bet you're all wondering, what the heck are these trips? What was the purpose of them? What was I doing? Who was I seeing? Well, let me tell you. So back in April, I planned a trip to Mexico City around a series of shows. It was this company called Circle, Cercle. If you guys have seen on YouTube, they have these amazing DJ sets in exotic locations around the world. They are an incredible company. They had this amazing lineup for this music festival in Mexico City. I had been hearing so much about Mexico City, and so I was dying to go. I talked all about this in a previous episode. If you're interested to hear more about that, go back to that episode. But I share all this because while I was in Mexico City, I was on Hinge, and I matched with this man who shall remain nameless. On his profile, he had a section. I'm gonna pull up my phone so I can literally read you guys what happened. But on his prompts, one of the things said, let's debate this topic. And he said, you're organizing a music festival. Who are the headliners? Rufus Du Sol is a must. I replied and said, I'd 100% go. And then he said, who else is headlining? And then he goes, side note, I was looking at your Instagram and you appear to be my dream partner. Full-time digital nomad and loves electronic music. Say less. So I replied for my lineup, let's say Rufus, Monolink, Bob Moses, Fred Again, Odessa, and Fisher. And then we started talking about music, right? So this is the beginning of the conversation. Pretty quickly within the conversation, we're talking about Rufus again. And so for those who don't know, there's a big tour that was announced last year that Rufus has been on throughout this year in different cities and locations. And so we start talking about the tour, and he asked me if I was going. So back in October of last year, when this tour was announced, I was with my girlfriends in California. We were about to go to our ayahuasca ceremony, and the tour was announced. Obviously, I was like with these girlfriends at the time, so I was like, oh my God, we should all go to Rufus together. Let's buy some tickets. I looked at the dates, and I knew that there was a potential conflict at the time with Deep Tropics, which was a festival that I knew that I was going to want to pitch my services to. I wanted to do my pregame meditation with them, but at the time in October of last year, I didn't have that locked in. So I was like, how I do with all things, I said to my friends, I said, let's buy the tickets just so that we have the option to go. This is actually a philosophy that somebody taught me recently that I really, really love, because I have a hard time making commitments because I don't know where or when I'm going to be certain places. So planning things really far in advance or purchasing tickets for things far in advance is difficult for me as a nomad and as somebody who is kind of flying by the seat of my pants, following my intuition and really tuning into what feels aligned for me in any given moment. It's very hard to lock me down. So I have had to practice getting really good at communicating very well and letting the people in my world understand the way that I operate and allowing them to do with that what they will. And so when we purchased these tickets, I said to my girlfriends, I said, I love you guys. I really want to go to this show. Heads up, I already see a potential conflict. If I am working Deep Tropics, I will not be able to go to this, just letting you know. And they both were like, okay, great, no problem. We bought the tickets. Cut to, I end up getting contracted to do my pregame meditation at Deep Tropics and my artist interviews, which happens later on in this podcast episode. I will share all about that. But long story short, by April, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to go to the show that I had purchased tickets for. And so I'm in this conversation with this stranger on Hinge. He's telling me about how he's a nomad. He was also in Mexico City for the Circle shows. So there was a lot of alignment in terms of the way that we're traveling. We're going to different places to see music and experiences. We obviously have the same taste in music. He's very good looking. He's tall. He's got a good job. I'm like, okay, sir, you check a lot of these boxes. I'm looking for somebody that has time, location, and financial freedom, that loves electronic music, that enjoys traveling. So I was like, cool. And he mentions that he got this ticket for the Denver show. And somehow he mentions pretty early on in the conversation, oh, I actually have extra tickets. And I was like, what tickets are they? Because when I bought the ones for LA, I literally was waiting online right when they went out. And the minute they were released, I got like, not nosebleeds, but not floor seats, which is what I wanted for Rufus. I wanted to be like right up in the action. And so he mentions that he had floor tickets for this Denver show. And I immediately was like, you don't know me, but I will be there. So this is April. And the show is for August, and I'm talking to the stranger on Hinge, telling him that I'm gonna come to Denver in August to go to a show with him for technically what would be our first date, because as I mentioned, he had already moved on to his next location. By the time we matched while we were in Mexico City, he was already in Colombia. So there was no opportunity for us to meet up before then. I guess there could have been, but honestly, I didn't want to, because I was like, if it doesn't work out and I can't go to that show, that's going to be horrible. So I'd rather just have the first date be the show, so that at least I know for sure that I could go to the show. And so this is how this all gets set up. In the preceding months, we didn't talk that much, right? It wasn't a situation of we were in the talking stage since April. It was pretty much like we locked that in. We're like, cool, I'll see you in August. And I was like, great. And we did check-ins. When I got the contract for Deep Tropics, I messaged him. I was like, hey, I for sure would love this ticket. Can I lock it in? Please don't sell it to anyone. He was like, yeah, no problem. When I booked my flights, I checked in with him. When I booked my Airbnb, I checked in with him. I kept letting him know, like, hey, dude, for real, I'm coming. This is a thing. I'm really, really coming. Both of us are super busy. We're running around. I don't personally like getting to know people over text. And so I was cool with just, meeting this stranger in Denver. And then also, I need to give a little bit of some backstory. I mean, I've been traveling by myself for the last 2 years. Me flying to a city to go on a first date isn't crazy, but if you just hear, I'm flying to Denver to go on a first date with a complete stranger that I met on Hinge in Mexico City 4 months ago, you would think I'm absolutely insane. But I was like, let's do it for the plot, kids. And so as we're getting closer to the date, I'm thinking in my head, I would imagine that as the date gets closer, he would start reaching out, even just organizing logistics, right? I'm hearing nothing from him, like very little. I'm gonna say like very, very little here and there. He's not really taking much initiative to try to make any sort of connection with me before we go. So I was like, okay, great. The first time I went to Denver was to visit my friend Maggie right before the pandemic, and we went skiing. That was during the winter. The second time I went to Denver was to go see Alesso at Red Rocks with my friend Alex. The third time I went to Denver was a couple months later. I just went back because I loved it so much. So I was like, any excuse I have to go to Denver, I'm fucking down. There's an incredible ecstatic dance that I'm obsessed with in Boulder that I really wanted to go to if I went. I made some great friends last time I was there. So I was starting to plan a Denver trip. I was like, cool, if I'm not hearing from this guy, I'm just gonna do my own thing, And so I start planning my Denver trip. This is where the things start really shining through, is I have this man that I met at an ecstatic dance in Denver back in April of last year. So a full year ago, over a full year ago. And I told him I was coming to Denver, and he's texting me in the lead up of me coming, asking what would I like to do outside of dance? Where could he take me? Could this and that? And look, he's just forethinking. He's excited that I'm going to be there. He's trying to make plans for me. In terms of what I'm looking for in partnership or how I would desire men to show up for me, this is it, just being thoughtful, just being proactive, just being communicative. I don't think it's that much to ask for. And here I am having one guy that I'm literally flying in to go on a date with, not being communicative, not being proactive, not making any sort of efforts at all to connect with me on one hand. And then another one, this man that I met one time over a year ago is going out of his way to try to make sure that I have an amazing trip. And so I was just looking at that, and again, when you hear how this date turned out, I don't want to spoil anything, but these were all very telling signs of what was about to unfold. Let's just leave it at that. And so I end up texting this guy like 2 days before I go to Denver because I'm starting to lock in plans with these other men and other people. And, you know, I've got my own life. I'm a busy girl. I'm in high demand. So I text him a couple days before I go to Denver. So on July 11th, I finally booked my flight. I texted him. We're texting very sporadically here and there. The week I'm leaving, this is a few days before I go to Denver, I haven't really heard anything from him in terms of logistics or plans or anything like that. And so I text him and I'm like, hey, I'm making plans with friends while I'm in town. Let me know if I should block anything for you other than Saturday night. Because again, we had the show on Saturday night, but I'm like, is this man going to ask me on an actual date? Is he going to ask me to dinner? Are we going to go to drinks first? Like, what is going on? We're both flying to another state to go on this long-awaiting first date, and this man has made zero efforts whatsoever in even just locking down a schedule. I didn't realize this at the time when we started talking about these plans, but he was actually flying to Denver, because he's not from Denver, for a conference for work, and then the concert happened to overlap. And so when we started planning logistics, I assumed that he was going to be more available, and he really wasn't. And so this text was kind of like a Hail Mary at the end, just being like, hey, I'm going to make other plans. Obviously you're busy, so just let me know if there's any time you'd like me to block off for you. And so he replied back and he was like, yeah, I have the conference now from 8 to 9 p.m. Wednesday to Friday. There's a chance something ends early and we can grab a drink, but I don't want to block out your calendar. So I was like, cool, I'm going to make other plans, all good. I'm just going to assume that we're going to see each other Saturday night, and that's going to be that. Even while I'm there, this man is barely texting me. He's not very communicative. There was a show on Friday night that I was like, hey, if you happen to get off and you want to go to this too. He just wasn't really responding. Again, it takes 3 seconds to text someone. I'm not asking for a lot, but it was just in the lead up, very, very, very clear that this man was not thoughtful or proactive, especially given the messages that he was sending me of like, you're my dream girl and this and that. You know, I'm like, okay. I think that my caliber of what I'm looking for a man to be showing up isn't crazy. It's just show up, communicate, act like you care, try a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, he had texted me Friday night and was like, hey, call me so that we can make plans for tomorrow. Mind you, I checked in with him weeks ago and asked what his schedule was. He told me he was busy, so I made plans for Saturday. I had another guy that wanted to take me on a hike, and I made these plans. And then all of a sudden, Saturday morning, this guy is like, hey, I'm actually available. Do you want to get brunch? And I was like, no, you said you weren't around. I made other plans. I'll see you tonight. And he was like, okay. So cut to Saturday night. There was a whole debacle where we were maybe going to meet at a friend's house, and it was a bar, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I get there. It's at a hotel bar, a very busy, popular hotel bar, apparently, because there was a line to get up, and they wouldn't let me up the elevator. And so I would think that this man would maybe come downstairs and come and get me, but no. I'm standing downstairs with the host, waiting like 15 minutes to get approval to get a text so that I could come up the elevator. Already, I was just kind of like, okay, interesting. I arrive. This man is very attractive. His energy is just a little off. He says hi. I say hi. He's so excited. He loves Rufus. Obviously, I love Rufus, so there was that energy. But he keeps going on and on and on and on about how this is a date. He goes, my best friend is actually on a blind date too. We're on a double blind date. Like blind date, date. Like he's just saying, like, he's very adamantly calling this a date. He's the one that's initiating that. I also think it's a little bit weird that we were on a double date and he didn't tell me till we arrived, which is fine. But again, just communication, whatever. So we get to the hotel bar. They have obviously already been there for a while drinking. I don't know how much they've had to drink. I don't know if this man is already drunk, but I was walking into a situation that was already unfolding. So I start talking to his friend. I start talking to the other girl. You know, we're connecting. Mind you, this man that I was on a date with literally wore sunglasses the entire time. From the moment he said hello to me until later that evening, I did not see his eyes one time. So the four of us are all at this table. He offers me a drink. I say, no, thank you. I don't drink. I found it a little bit interesting that there was no conversation around that or curiosity around that. I feel like typically if you are drinking and you're around someone that doesn't drink, especially if it's on a date, there's a little bit of like, hey, do you mind if I drink, or is it cool, or are you not? There was just nothing. There was no interest. There was no curiosity. There was no conversation around it. He was just like, cool, you're not drinking? Great, I'm gonna drink. Didn't even ask if like I wanted something non-alcoholic to drink. Was not very conscientious and caring in his demeanor and approach with me. But again, I'm just like, la-di-da, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm going to see Rufus, I don't really care. And so cut to his other friend comes and picks us up and drives us there. I'm in the car. I'm like really connecting with his friend. He's super cool. I'm really connecting with his date. She's super cool. I'm chatting with the guy in the front seat. And my date, he's sitting in the front seat. And there was no point where we really connected at all. It was all very surface level conversation, no real moments of connection or intimacy or deep conversation in any capacity. I left that car ride feeling like I really got to know his friend. I really got to know the girl. I really got to know the driver. And this guy was just kind of like on another planet. So I was like, okay, interesting. Again, all curiosity, interest, like observation, nothing beyond that. So we get to the venue and he is racing ahead of us. Doesn't walk with me, isn't talking to me, is just on a fucking mission. And I was like, okay, he's excited, you know. But again, I'm sitting here being like, is he going to make any attempts at connecting with me at all? No? Okay, whatever. I'm here for it. I'm having a good time. I'm connecting with everybody else. His other friend comes, we're all chatting. I'm getting to know everyone in his friend group but him. So then it comes time for us to go to our spots. It wasn't seats, it was standing room. So we get down there. There was a moment where we were going to take some extracurriculars, and I always like to be super intentional about that. And so I asked him if he had taken his yet, and he said no. And so I was like, great, let's all set some intentions together before we participate in anything that's going to expand our consciousness. And he was like, okay. And so I get everyone together and we start setting intentions. And I was like, okay, everyone, let's put our things in the middle and kind of like zhuzh them up with good energy so that we can have a really beautiful, intentional experience. And he looks and he's like, oh, I already took it. And I was like, again, making no efforts to connect with me whatsoever. His friend got super into it. The date got super into it. Everybody was trying to have a moment with me and he just was on another planet. So I was like, okay, great. Let's just set some beautiful intentions for an amazing experience. And I'm so grateful to be here. And, you know, that's all. And so the show begins and this man, I think I didn't realize how much he had to drink. He had a lot to drink at the bar before. He got a bunch of drinks at the show. He was on some extracurriculars. And so he was on another level. When it comes to substances, I am extremely intentional. I am very aware of how things affect my body. And also my intention for this experience was obviously one, to connect with the music and to be super present for Rufus, because that was my main intention. But also I was on a first date and I was kind of curious to get to know this guy. And it didn't feel like he had the same intentions as me in that space. And so the show is happening. This man is getting sloppier by the second. This man is 6'5" and is drunk, on substances, and is a hot mess. He has absolutely no body awareness whatsoever. So imagine a very large man hanging on top of you with his full body weight, banging all over the place. He was grabbing drinks from strangers and drinking other people's drinks, just sloppy, messy, embarrassing the whole show. I'm trying so hard to just stay in my own energy and be present with the music and experience this as fully as humanly possible, but it's so hard to tune out this man. And at the same time, obviously, as he's starting to get more and more comfortable and more loose, he's trying to make a connection with me, but only physically. And I'm like, we haven't spoken. You haven't taken your glasses off. You haven't looked me in the eyes yet. You haven't said more than 3 words to me. You haven't moved the conversation past surface level. And now you want to touch me and put your hands on me and dance with me. And I was just getting major ick from this guy. And he tried to kiss me on the cheek a couple times, which I was like, okay, fine. I'm sure many women who are listening to this can relate. There is a level when I am interacting with a man and I'm in an uncomfortable situation where I tolerate things up until a certain point. So he put his hand on my back and I was like, okay, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm not going to say anything. Then he starts putting them on my waist, and I was like, okay, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm not going to say anything. And then he asked if he could kiss me on the cheek, and I was like, okay, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm not going to say anything. And then at one point in the night, he was like, can I kiss you on the lips? And I was like, no, you can't. Like, no, you cannot kiss me, no. Anyway, so I was nicer about it, but I'm just feeling the ick. Every time he put his hands on me, I literally wanted to crawl in my body. It was so uncomfortable. And so the night goes on. Again, I'm like, this isn't the time or place for me to say something. I'm tolerating his behavior as much as humanly possible, but I'm really uncomfortable. I'm also embarrassed. Also, if you know me at all, which this man has been following me on Instagram since April, so it absolutely blows my mind that he would go on a date with me and act this way, knowing that my entire brand and ethos is all about intentional partying. It just actually blows my mind that no part of him was like, hey, let me just be a little conscientious of the way that I'm behaving, or maybe try to make a good impression. I'm like, ugh. Anyway, let's back up. Rufus is incredible. Rufus is one of my favorite artists of all time. The show was amazing. It was very, very difficult to deal with this man behind me. Also, every time I tried to take a video or a picture, he tried to get inside of it, and I knew that this date wasn't going to end well, and I kept trying to take pictures and videos without him. He just had no awareness, zero social awareness, zero body awareness, and was getting blackout. Truly, by the end of the show, he was not even there. At a certain point in the show, his friend and the other girl, the other people that were on a blind date, they left, and then they came back. She kind of pulled me aside and was like, so how's the date going? I was like, it's going really bad. She was like, oh my God, what's happening? And I was like, he's belligerent and all over the place and sloppy and is touching me, and I'm very uncomfortable. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And so we're walking back to his friend's car, and he grabs my hand and now wants to hold my hand. I'm tolerating it because I'm just like, this isn't the time or place to deal with this. In my head, I'm like, I'm obviously not going to afters with this man. I am going home immediately once we get out of the situation, but let me just make sure that I can get to safety first before I do what I need to do. And so we're walking back to the car. He's holding my hand. He's asking me, because I had mentioned earlier how I had a hookup for afters, and he was like, so what are the afters? What are we going to do? And I was like, yeah, I'm really tired. I think I'm going to call it. And he was like, oh, really? No. And I was like, yeah, like you go do what you want to do. When we get back to the city, I'm going to call it. And of course, like perfect clockwork, right when I said that, he goes, oh, by the way, can you Venmo me for the ticket? And I was just like, So now that you know I'm definitely not going to sleep with you, now it's not a date, and now you want me to pay you for the ticket. Interesting. Of course, I didn't say that. I politely said, yes, just remind me tomorrow, and we can deal with it then. And he goes, okay. I'm really uncomfortable at this point. I'm so uncomfortable. This feels so transactional, and I feel dirty, and I feel gross, and this man is giving me the most ick I've ever had in my life on a date. It was so uncomfortable. So we get back to the car, and I can't tell if the driver is sober. He doesn't seem sober. And now the group has grown. There's more people. There's a bunch of drug girls sitting in the back. The back of the car is open, and so everyone's just kind of hanging out. And they're talking about what the plan is. And obviously there's now too many people to fit in this car. So they're like, oh, we'll just squeeze. It'll be fine. And in my head, I was planning on going home the minute we got back to the city. I don't really want to squeeze into a car like I'm in high school with a bunch of people that are drunk that I don't really want to be around. I don't know if this driver is sober. I don't feel safe in this situation. Every alarm in my body is going off. Every red flag that could possibly be raised is being raised. And every part of my intuition was saying, do not get in this car. So I listened, and I said, you guys can go in the car. There's enough seats for all of you. I'm not going to try to squeeze. It's fine. His friend was like, oh my God, no, please don't leave. This man is fucking sitting in the front seat, not even aware of what's going on, just had no awareness, no concern. Again, even if this wasn't a date, even if this was a friend thing, just the way that this man had such disregard for my well-being and just had zero tact as a grown adult, it just blew my mind. It really did. Contextually, we're in the middle of a football field in a random city I don't live in, and now it's like 12 o'clock at night and I'm by myself. And so I go over to the car and I tell him, I'm not getting in the car. And he goes, oh, you're headed out? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, bye. And like got out of the car and gave me a hug and just was like, bye. Didn't say, hey, how are you getting home? Do you need help getting an Uber? Can I order you an Uber? Can I wait with you? Can you text me when you get an Uber so I know you're safe? No, none of these things. Of course, granted, this man is drunk. He's completely blackout. He has zero regard for himself. So of course he has zero regard for me. But in that moment, it just solidified everything. And I was like, this is not a stand-up guy at all. I absolutely do not want to be in his presence whatsoever. And so I walk away. Again, contextually, girl by myself in like a skimpy outfit in the middle of a football field alone at 11:30 at night. The guy that I was supposed to be on a date with is like, see ya, have fun, bye. Of course I'm fucking resourceful. Of course I figured it out. Of course I found a security guard who escorted me via golf cart to the other side of the football field so that I could get an Uber. But I'm sitting by myself on the side of the road waiting for an Uber in a random city at midnight after a show when I was supposed to be on a date with this man who has absolutely zero regard for my well-being. And I'm heated. And so I meet some people. Obviously, they're like, are you by yourself? What's going on? Who left you? What's happening? And I told some people the story, and I was like, yeah, I'm waiting for an Uber. And they were like, no. You are not going home like this. You have to come out with us. You cannot end this night on a bad note like this. And I was like, okay. Twist my arm. And so I end up canceling my Uber, and I get adopted by this group of people, and they take me to some afters, which was so freaking fun. It was this really cool bar in Denver that had a DJ outside in the courtyard area, and then you go to this back room and they had another DJ, and the DJ in the back room was freaking banging. He was so good. He was kind of a mix of like Fred again meets Louis the Child, just so good. I was dancing, having the time of my life. His set ends and I walk back out to the main bar, and of course, who do I see but the big jolly green giant? This freaking man is now at the same afters as me. And my initial instinct was to duck and run and to hide. And then I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm here. Like, all good. So I end up crossing paths with him at one point, and he sees me and he looks like he saw the ghosts of Christmas past. He sees me and does a double take and kind of like doesn't know what to do. And then the girl from the other blind date, his best friend's girl that was on the date with him, literally runs to me and she was like, oh my God, like, how are you? What's going on? Tell me everything. And I was like, I'm good. Everything's fine. I got an Uber with some people. I was like, what's happening? She was like, oh my God, this man couldn't form a sentence in the car. He's so drunk. He's so out of it. He's so fucked up. And everybody was asking about you and they were wondering why you left. Everybody loved you and thought you were so cool. And I don't even think he's coherent enough to understand what he did wrong or what happened. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And so she was like, you're good. His friend even came up to me and was like, you're so cool. Forget about him, whatever. Like, we love you. And I was like, thank you. So now we're going to cut to the next morning. So me and this girl obviously connected. The next morning, her and I hopped on FaceTime. And basically she told me that the friend was asking about me, asking what had happened. And she told him what I told her, which was that this man was really out of it, that he was all over the place, that he was sloppy, that he was handsy, that he made me really uncomfortable. And then she goes, oh, and he asked her to Venmo him for the date. And his friend goes, no, he didn't. And she goes, yeah. He goes, what the fuck? That is so not cool. And she was like, yeah. Mind you, this is a wealthy man. This is a man with a good job who's bragging about how he pays thousands of dollars for bottle service, blah, blah. I'm like, you couldn't spare $250 for a fucking concert because I wouldn't sleep with you? Like, are you out of your freaking mind? And so she tells me that the next day he was going to bring his friend to the airport. She was like, he's probably going to wake up super embarrassed, really hungover. I'm going to see if I can get some info from the friend afterwards to see what went down. The friend obviously thinks that it was inappropriate of this guy to ask for a Venmo. So I was like, all right, there's three ways this could go down. Either one, he's going to wake up super embarrassed and apologize, and that's going to be that. Two, I'm going to wake up to a Venmo request. Or three, he's going to be so embarrassed he's going to ghost me and I'm never going to hear from him again. So I was like, I wonder which one it's going to be. So the next day at 1:30 p.m., I get the most unhinged text message I have ever received in my life. And it reads, still can't get over last night, period. Such an amazing show. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Thanks for securing that epic spot. Can you please Venmo me for the ticket? It was $252. Sends his Venmo. And then says, also would love any of your favorite videos. I took none, crying emoji. Let's break this down, shall we? First of all, still can't get over last night, so he thinks it was good. He thinks he had a good time. I know he had a good time. He was having the fucking time of his life. He was just not aware of how his behavior was affecting literally anybody in his vicinity. Then he thanks me for getting him to the fucking front row because I'm a baller. So after he said that he had a great night and acknowledged the role that I played in it by getting him an amazing spot, he goes on to still ask me for money. And then he says, if you took any videos, send them to me. So I'm sitting here trying to process this, thinking like, the fucking audacity of this man and the complete lack of social awareness is just mind-blowing. But I'm trying to figure out, what do I say back to this? First of all, I am absolutely 100% not Venmoing this man. No way in fucking hell. Especially in the context of him realizing that I wasn't going to sleep with him and then asking for money. If this was a monetary exchange where I was paying for this ticket, I would not have fucking tolerated you hanging all over me the whole show. The only reason why I didn't walk away from him was because I felt bad because he paid for the ticket. So I took about a day to process and figure out what I wanted to say back. My response to this man was truly a work of art. Honestly, I want to print it, I want to frame it, I want to send it to museums. It is, mwah, chef's kiss, so fucking good. I'm going to read it to you. To be fully transparent, had I known this wasn't a date, which if you're asking for money, it clearly wasn't, I would have walked away from you the moment we entered that stadium. Your complete lack of social awareness and audacity is honestly impressive. I really didn't think it was possible for somebody to make Rufus a less than enjoyable experience, and somehow you achieved the impossible. Wishing you the best of luck on your journey to becoming a better man for the sake of all women that ever encounter you in the future. Please never contact me again. Mic drop, no notes. That's it. Not my responsibility to fucking break down everything you did wrong. My responsibility to tell you I am in absolute awe of your audacity. And fuck you. That's how I feel. Anyway, so that happened. Obviously, I made the most of the rest of my trip. Obviously, I looked at this entire experience as a beautiful growth moment. Obviously, I was so proud of the way that I handled it, of the way that I communicated, of the way that I advocated for myself, of the way that I showed up for myself, and beautiful lessons, beautiful medicine. On to the next place we go. So after Denver, I go to Nashville. Again, talking about the way in which I desire Amanda show up for me, I was hired by one of the founders of Deep Tropics to facilitate my pregame meditation and also be the facilitator of these artist interviews. And in the lead up to my coming to Nashville, I felt so appreciated. I felt so looked after. I felt so desired. In terms of my worth, I felt the people that had hired me for this opportunity really, really wanted me there and were showing me that through their actions. Joel, who's one of the co-founders, even picked me up from the airport when I landed in Nashville days before the festival because he wanted to show his gratitude for the fact that I was flying in to do this. And I was, again, looking at his actions, looking at the actions of the other man that I hung out with in Denver, and then looking at this other man's actions, the Jolly Green Giant, and I was just like, of course there was all these red flags leading up to it. I should have known. And so I arrived in Nashville. I got there a couple days early so I could ground and acclimate before things started. I think things began on Thursday night. There was the Deep Tropics Summit, and then Friday was the first day of the festival. Saturday was the festival. It was hit the ground running, all things Deep Tropics. So I really, really wanted a chance to ground and orient myself. So we're in Nashville. This trip was about to be such a big career moment for me. This was an opportunity that I created for myself. Last year, I was a part of an organization called No Fun, KNOW, where we had a booth at Deep Tropics called the Let Go Lounge, where we invited participants to come to our booth, write down something that they wanted to let go of and release so that they could step into their festival experience feeling expansive and feeling ready to party with intentionality. That group quickly dissipated. No fun was no longer after that festival. And soon after, AmandaFest started to form. And AmandaFest is all about helping people connect to themselves and others through intentionality and play. And so I had in the back of my mind, after working with Deep Tropics, knowing what they were all about, they're all about sustainability in environment, and I'm all about sustainability in social life. And so I thought that it was a really great fit, and I had my list of people to reach out to and opportunities to pursue. Earlier in the year, Deep Tropics was high on my list of a festival that I really wanted to collaborate with. I reached out in April when I was in Mexico City, conversations ensued, and I was invited to open up the festival by facilitating my pregame meditation on both Friday and Saturday. The purpose of this meditation is to help people get out of their heads, into their bodies, clear on their intentions, and ready to party. I was so excited to have this opportunity, and as I started having these conversations in the lead up to the festival, the role expanded even wider than I could have imagined. I was also invited, because of my work with the podcast, to facilitate artist interviews. So all the artists that were performing on stage, I got to do Q&As with them on behalf of Deep Tropics. And then on top of that, I was leading a digital series called Mindful Mondays in the lead up to the festival, supporting people with tips and tricks on how to party with more intentionality. This could not have been a more aligned opportunity for me, especially just a little over a year after starting my own business, to have the opportunity to be facilitating and working with a big EDM festival in the States was absolutely insane. I have a very close friend who does not live in Nashville, who was using the fact that I was going to be there as an excuse to come to Nashville, and also wanted to be there to support me. So I had friends that I had met from last year. I had the people that I was working with the festival. I had 2 friends from Miami that were also in town. So it was becoming this thing where it was like, okay, I'm here to work, but also there's all of these moving pieces and all of these people that are going to be here that I'm going to get to connect with and celebrate with and be with. And also I was like, okay, and I'm working. So I got to balance and navigate and figure all this out. So a few days before the festival, I'm in Nashville. I am working on a proposal, because in the midst of all of this, I'm working remotely. I accidentally built this consulting business, and in the midst of the last month, on top of the main client that I've been working with, I now have 2 more super aligned clients that I'm so excited about. And so I was working on a proposal for one of those clients, and I got a DM from this guy that I met at a party in New York in July. And he says, "Amanda, I just put my good Australian guitar playing friend on a plane from JFK to Nashville. He knows absolutely no one, and he is so open and down for anything. He's headed to Burning Man later this year, LOL, so he is on that track right now. Are you still there? Can I connect y'all? No pressure, but I imagine it'd be a good time. He stayed with us for the last couple weeks. He's not on Insta, but he's a lovely hang. Anywho, hope life is good." And immediately I knew who he was talking about. I think he had forgotten, but I also met this guy at a party with him and spent a whole night in New York hanging out with him and talking to him. So I was like, hey, I met him. Yeah, for sure. Definitely connect us. Just rewinding a little bit. When I was in New York in July, I was at a party. I had already met this friend that DM'd me, but he had that friend that was staying with him. There was definitely some interest and curiosity. I thought he was cute. We were talking all about Burning Man, but the night ended. He went home with his friends. I went home by myself, and I was like thinking about him in the coming days. It was a few days before I left New York, and I was like, should I reach out to him? He was kind of cute. Maybe I want to go out with him. In my past, I tend to be the one that pursues, even though now I am shifting into the desire of being pursued. And this is a perfect example of that, because I could have, after that party, tried to connect with him, reached out to him, but I really thought about it, and I was like, what's the point? First of all, I'm leaving in a few days. He doesn't even live here. And so it's just funny that I had that whole internal moment with myself with meeting this man in New York, and then lo and behold, I'm posting stories in Nashville, and I get this message that he's on a plane in Nashville and on his way, and his friend is like, can I connect you guys? So I was like, okay, universe, there's something here for me. I'll take the bait. So I immediately connect with this guy. We get on the phone. He remembers me. I was like, hey, what's your plan in Nashville? And he was like, I don't know. I just felt called to come out there. He's a musician, so obviously he wanted to come out to check out some music, but he really had no plans. He didn't know anyone here and was just super open. And so I was like, you really chose a great weekend to come to Nashville because there is an amazing festival happening. I'm super connected with it. I could help you get tickets to all of these different things. Like, I will let you know what I'm doing when I'm doing it, and you're welcome to join all of the things. At this point in reaching out to him, I wasn't thinking romantic. I was thinking, yeah, there was some attraction for sure, but also I was like, that's not my priority this week. I have all these other things going on. I'm just in abundance and in overflow right now. And now there's somebody who can receive the abundance and overflow in terms of tickets and opportunities and things. So I was like, great. I have been gifted so many things along my journey. Here's an amazing opportunity to just do some good deeds. I was like, if I have extra tickets to this thing, I'll give you this. If I find out about this, I'll give you this. Like, it was just felt really easy and organic and just aligned. And so I ended up meeting up with him that night. There is an amazing sauna cold plunge spot similar to Othership in Nashville that I went to. He came and joined. We connected. It was great. Then the next day, there was the opening party of Deep Tropics. He came to that. It was all friendly vibes. My friend Ben was there. My friends from Miami were there. I'm in ultimate Amanda energy. I'm working, I'm in my element. It's just the perfect environment. So cut to day one of the festival Friday. I opened up with my pregame meditation. There was way more people than I had anticipated there. This guy made it a point to show up and be there for it. My friend Lyle, who had flown and made it a point to come and be there for it. There were people that I had met at other festivals around the States that went out of their way because my pregame meditation was very early in the day. So many people had to specifically come to the festival early just to be there, and I felt so supported, so loved, so aligned. It went so well. I was so happy. And then I went backstage and started my interviews. I had worked on creating my own questions for the interviews, and obviously I knew that it was going to be good, but I've never done this before. I've never done artist interviews before. I never did in real life interviews before. Everything that I've done so far has been virtual, so it was a really cool opportunity to get to practice doing in real life back and forth Q&As, and I got incredible feedback. I made friends with literally every single artist that came through. It was, again, just feeling super aligned in my element, like, yes, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And so I had the most amazing day doing these interviews, doing my pregame meditation, again, just feeling in my power, feeling in my purpose, feeling so good. I got incredible feedback from the PR people at Deep Tropics. I was getting great feedback from the artists. A handful of them are going to be on the podcast soon, which I'm so excited about. And so day one was an absolute success. I finished up with my interviews right as Disco Lines was on. I ran to the main stage. I had an all access pass, so I got to go to the front. The only thing that I realized about working a festival is that you actually don't get to attend the festival. I only got to see a couple of sets at the very end, but it was still so amazing. So I'm with my friends, we're dancing. At one point, it was like me, Lyle, and this guy, the Australian dude. Let's just call him Australian dude. And again, nothing romantic, just platonic. We're all hanging, this and that, whatever. Obviously, as the night goes on, there are substances ingested and feels and things are shifting. At the very end of the festival, Lyle wanted to go see one set, and me and this guy really wanted to go to the base stage and see Alice in Wonderland. We were really feeling drawn to this one particular stage, and so we ventured off. It was just me and him. And we were walking to the stage. Again, at this point, it's just been friendly. But again, I manifested so many free things for this man. I don't know if he felt like he owed me anything. I was not doing anything in expectation of something in return. I was just giving to give. And so he and I venture off. We're walking to the stage, and he literally aggressively grabs me and kisses me. And at that point, I was just like, okay, like, I wasn't hoping that was going to happen all night, but I also wasn't against it. And it was a really good kiss, and it was super fun. And so I was like, cool, that's what this is tonight. Great. So we go into the stage, we're like dancing, we're having a good time. He's like kissing me and making out with me and grabbing me. And I'm like, okay, this is fun. Like, we're like, okay. So the festival ends, and now we're on to the afters. I had tickets to a set at Night We Met, but two of the people that I interviewed were playing at a different venue, and I had to go back to the trailers to get my stuff. And so I ran into Chris Lorenzo, one of the DJs, and he was like, oh, come to my set. Here, I'll put you on the guest list. You're all set. So I was like, great. And so me and this guy go to the afters, same thing, it's hot and heavy. Basically what I had hoped Rufus was, this is kind of what this was turning into. It was a super intimate connection. He and I had been building a really beautiful connection throughout the weekend. We'd been spending a lot of time having super deep conversations, really getting to know each other. So it felt super aligned. It felt really nice and intentional and beautiful. And again, I'm looking for partnership, but I'm also open to opportunities and experiences that are going to expand me with men that genuinely care about me, that we have a deep connection and it's not just a fleeting physical experience. There's something deeper there, and there definitely was with this guy. But from my perspective, it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm in love with him. It was just like, okay, I'm willing to explore intimacy with this man because I feel like we have a deep bond and connection, and it doesn't feel like this is going to be meaningless. I think based off of both of our energy, there was an undertone that like, had we connected further, it was going to be deep and intimate and connected and beautiful, which is like what I would desire. But having something be deep and connected and beautiful and intimate does not mean that you need to be attached to it, right? Like there could be two separate things. You could have a super connected connection with somebody, and you can also have the understanding that it is just for a duration of time, that it doesn't need to expand beyond that. And so he and I went through the after party. We ended up going to the second after party. You know, it's late at night, but also like I knew the next day I had a PR brunch with the team for Deep Tropics, and then I had my pregame meditation, and then I had interviews all day. So there was no way that I was going to go home with this man after this whole night. It was very, very clear that it was like, we're enjoying our time together right now, and if anything is going to pursue further, it has to happen tomorrow. It cannot happen tonight. And so we parted ways. I woke up the next morning bright and early because my priority was to be there for Deep Tropics. It was not about a boy. And so I had this amazing brunch. I was invited by the head of PR and press to this exclusive Soho House brunch with some key players at Deep Tropics, which was really, really great to get, one, invited to that, and two, to get to do more networking and connect with people that are in a similar space. And just, again, I'm feeling like on top of the world. I'm feeling like I'm in my element. I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I am like working at a big music festival. I'm an integral part. I'm feeling valued. I'm feeling respected. I'm like, oh, this is so good. I run to the festival. I do my pregame meditation. It was definitely a different type of meditation because everybody was a little bit lower energy. I was lower energy. And so I catered to the room. We did a seated meditation. It went really well. Then I took a nap in the trailer for like an hour before I started my interviews. And I went straight from like 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. back-to-back interviews. I think I had 10 interviews in a row. I finished that day feeling wiped. Like, I am obviously extremely extroverted, really good communicator, really good, but by the end of that day, I just was so exhausted, mentally and emotionally depleted. I literally felt like I was high and I was sober. And so I stepped out of the trailer to like go to the main festival, and I went to text my group text with my Miami friends, my friend Lyle. I put everybody in one group text together because I was like, I can't deal with like a million different people. I was like, whenever I'm available, I'm just gonna tell everybody at once where I am and let people come find me. And so I walked out of the trailer, I texted everyone like, where are you? And of course, immediately I run into Australian man before I could even finish the text. And so I say this because I'm like, I did not have the opportunity whatsoever to take a breath, to decompress. I really should have gone to the speakeasy and meditated for a minute, had a moment to myself, but no, I literally went from the brunch in the morning to the pregame meditation to interviews all day and then straight into conversation with this man. And so I'm out of it. Literally, I feel high. I feel out of my body. I'm like so disoriented. And he's very clear, I need to talk to you. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Again, we left it off the night before where things were super hot and heavy and heated, and he definitely pursued me and was getting me interested in what could unfold the next evening. And so I was excited to see him, and I was like, yeah, what's up? And he very quickly shifted. I guess he had been in conversation with his ex throughout this whole thing. There was a debate of whether or not he was going to get back together with her. And so he basically was just like, hey, I just want to be really clear with you. I don't want to pursue anything more with you because I don't want to make things complicated with my ex and blah, 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 like whatever. Same shit we've heard before. You know, if you guys have been following this podcast, the amount of times that I have encountered this conversation is absolutely wild. The last time was at Lightning in a Bottle with the guy that and it wasn't about an ex, but it was like a situation of somebody leaning in and then pulling back. And so I'm already super disoriented. I really don't have the space to have this conversation. Also, I'm like, yeah, I was excited about getting certain needs met. And at the same time, I was like, whatever, man, it is what it is, you know? But I'm also not in a place to process it properly. And I'm kind of out of my body. And he kind of came at me really hot with that. And so I'm just kind of like orienting myself. Lyle comes and meets up with us. We do a cold plunge. The girl forgot about me in the cold plunge. She forgot to time it. So I think I was in there for like 8 minutes or some shit. I'm so disoriented. I didn't even feel how cold it was. I was just like, I don't know what's going on. We're walking to the main stage and I pull him to the side and I was like, hey, I really appreciate you communicating with me. You know, obviously if there was an energetic shift, I would have noticed it and felt it. So thank you for sharing with me. And also I'm not in a place right now to process what you just shared, but I really would love to double tap on this later on. I'd love to have a conversation about this. I just don't have the capacity right now. And he was like, yeah, no worries. So we go to the main stage. I literally had to lay down and just be in my own energy for a second to just process and come back into my body. Lyle's massaging me. She taps out. The Australian guy comes over and he's massaging me. I feel very loved and cared for and all these things. Then we're dancing. We're on the dance floor. There was a girl that was not well in the crowd and I was really worried that she needed to go to medical. So like my attention went very much over to that. She ended up being okay. Group kind of dissipated. He and I ended up going to the front dancing. But again, we're dancing, but we're not connecting in the same way that we were obviously the day before. So it's just interesting. We end up after that set going over back to the main stage, meeting up with the Miami boys. And the rest of the night, there was never an opportunity for us to connect and tap back in. It was just sort of very disjointed and all over the place. And I'm not thinking about him. I'm in my own energy. I'm having a good time. I'm dancing. It was super, super, super fun. Then after we all meet back up, we find Lyle, we find the boys, everybody connects and we're like, great. And we decide to go to one of the guys' houses to decompress before we go out to afters or figure out what afters are. His energy back at the house was very like disjointed and all over the place. The boys were participating in different substances than me and Lyle were, so we were on very different frequencies, which I think played a role in it. But there was some behaviors that were happening at that house that really made me feel, just made me feel really shitty. I'm trying to figure out, again, like the balance of how to share about this situation while omitting certain details and being a little bit mysterious and preserving other people's integrity. Obviously, I'm not sharing who this person is, but I also want to be mindful of their privacy. But long story short, he didn't make me feel good. He was pursuing my friend in front of me, was talking about other girls, was all over the place, brings up his ex, is talking about how he wants to marry her. All of these things are happening and I'm just like, damn, I was just trying to have a good time and have fun and now I feel super rejected and I feel really shitty and this doesn't feel good. And so Lyle and I left. I went home and I cried myself to sleep on Saturday. And in the midst of that, I'm laughing at myself because I'm like, I just had the most career high weekend of my life and I am literally at home crying over a boy. What is wrong with me? And I'm in the moment, and within the moment, I'm zoomed out thinking about how ridiculous the moment is. And so that was true for me, though. This is medicine for me. If you've listened to this podcast, like this is recurring medicine that continues to come up. And one of the things that I think is happening, what I think is happening is I keep telling the universe, I am looking for partnership. I am looking for my person. I am looking for that. And every time I'm about to accept something that is less than that, i.e. this weekend with this man, although it would have been connected and it would have been beautiful and it would have been intense and intimate and wonderful, I knew that he wasn't my person. Like I already knew that. He knows that. It was really cool to be with him throughout that whole night on Friday because I was having such a cool moment of being in my power and getting invited to things and making things happen and manifesting things. And it's stuff that I do all the time, but I do it on my own and nobody's ever there to witness it and experience the magic of it. And so getting to have a mirror and a witness through all of it was really cool, but also personality-wise, I think him and I are both, you know, they say that in a relationship you need an anchor and a sail. Him and I are both very much sails, and I think together we are so similar. Our energy could have been very, very dangerous. And we were talking about that on Friday night. And so both of us knew that it was, if anything was going to happen, it was going to be super intense and really connected and very fleeting. So I'm getting very, very clear on what I'm calling in terms of romantic partnership. And every time that I'm about to accept something that is less than that, the universe cock blocks me. Literally, the universe is like, you said that you wanted this, but you're about to accept this. No fucking way. So it's all good. Just had the equivalent of girl blue balls, but it's fine. It's all fine. Everything's great. But then the next day, my medicine was, how do I approach this? What's the conversation? This is an opportunity for growth and for communication and connection. And so the next day I went to a hape ceremony, which was amazing, by the Kuntanawa tribe. I was able to process. He knew that something was wrong because I left kind of abruptly on Saturday night. I didn't really text him back the next day. And so he had sent me a message being like, hey, is everything okay? If you want to talk, I'm available. And so I messaged him. I was like, hey, I'm integrating. When I'm ready, I'll let you know. And he was like, great. So the next day he and I met up. We had coffee and I sat down with him and I got to share twofold. I got to share, one, how his actions made me feel, when he was pursuing other women in front of me, when he was talking about his ex, when he pursued me and then pushed me away. I shared with him how his actions made me feel. And I also took accountability for, there are certain things within his actions that were just triggers and wounds for me that have nothing to do with him. And this is a pattern of mine, and this is how his actions landed on me, and this is what came up for me. And we got to have this really beautiful, transparent conversation that felt super healing. He was extremely receptive to it. I think he took my feedback very, very well. And, there was definitely certain behaviors that he was displaying that he could be more mindful of. I think I also forget that I have so much experience and practice going to festivals and shows that when men or other people that aren't as practiced in these spaces show up and aren't showing up in the same level of integrity as I am, I'm confused. And so I wanted to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt of, hey, I understand there's hot people everywhere and there's substances and there's this and there's that. It's easy to get excited and to forget how you're showing up, and also you're hurting people's feelings by your behavior sometimes. And so that there are ways to be a little bit more careful. He was able to acknowledge, I think, that when he kissed me that first night and when he wanted to lead into that, he wasn't really thinking at all. He was thinking with one brain and not the other. But he was like, yeah, in the moment it felt really good, but then I kind of was thinking about it and I was like, I don't think it's a good idea. And I feel like with you, we have such an intense connection that if we slept together, it would be a lot and maybe you would be attached. And I was like, well, maybe you're projecting. I would have been fine with it just being a weekend thing and I was looking to have some fun with you, but it sounds like maybe you would have gotten attached, and obviously you're desiring to reconnect with your ex, and so that doesn't feel aligned, and that's totally fine, but there just could have been a better way to handle it. And I also very much wish that you didn't pursue me and then push me away. I just wish you didn't pursue me at all. And so we got to have that conversation. It was super clearing, super healing, really good for me to really just get to have these conversations with the masculine, to get to practice this open line of communication and to have it so well received. And so past that, he and I spent some more time together in the coming days. There was a couple of days where I didn't have anywhere to stay, and so he actually put me up one of the days and we spent a lot of time together. We went to dinners, we talked. He was about to go to Burning Man to reconnect with his ex, and so he and I got to have some really beautiful healing conversations, and I got to help him utilize the mistakes and the lessons learned with me on how to show up better for his future partner. So if she's watching this at some point down the line, I'm expecting a phone call of appreciation, assuming that he took my advice and showed up accordingly, because I think sometimes men just need a little bit of help. They need a little bit of feminine touch, and the issue is that the woman that is on the receiving end of a man's desires doesn't want to be the one to have to train him and teach him and show him how to show up. He really needs another woman in his life to support him and give him some guidance. And so I truly hope that things went well at Burning Man. I haven't connected with him yet, but I'm excited to hear from him, and truly just sending him nothing but love, all good. Was able to move through, process that, and arrive at the other side with so much wisdom and so many lessons, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And so that was not the medicine I was expecting for this incredible career highlight week to be of my experience with the masculine. And so for that to be what it was is is what it was. So past Nashville, fast forwarding to Chicago. I fly to Chicago to help my sister move into her apartment, which I'm in right now. She is starting her first big girl job as a corporate lawyer, which is so crazy because she's my baby sister. Having the freedom to be able to travel and work wherever and being able to be here for these big moments is so, so, so special. So my whole family was here except for my brother, my mom, my dad, our dog, my sister. I got to help her move in. They left, and it actually was really great because it overlapped with a music festival that I really wanted to go to, which is ARC. Chicago is also the home of house music. And so over the past weekend, I went to ARC Music Festival. In the midst of all this, I saw my friend Lincoln Jesser, who also played at Deep Tropics. I got to see him perform on a rooftop, which was super, super fun. I got to see Nora And Pure. I got to see Louis the Child, Sophie Tucker, Fisher, and John Summit. And it has been an amazing whirlwind. I wish I had more time on this episode to kind of debrief. I feel like that's an entire episode unto itself, but I feel like the moral of this episode was really about the relational lessons, was about the guy in Denver and this guy, and I feel like moving through all of those energies really is like the pivotal part. The lessons learned in the festival space will continue to come. There was a lot of heavy drug use at ARC. It was a very dark energy and not the vibe. Lots of wisdom and medicine and lessons in that for sure. I was inside of the crowd. There was a lot of people around me participating in substances that didn't feel aligned. And so I went off to the side and just went into my own energy and created my own energetic field. And the amount of people that I magnetized just by doing that was absolutely mind-blowing. I was really able to practice the magic of what it is to be in your own energy and seeing in real time how that affects people and how other people respond to it. That was super, super, super cool. There was somebody in the crowd that had like an overdose situation, and so that kind of took me out of it. I got to support the girl that was there with them and really just practice being in my leader energy in the crowd was something that was cool and new and interesting to experience. And then later that night, I wasn't sure if I was going to go to John Summit. I was refreshing the page over and over and over again, trying to get tickets under $200. I said to my sister, if tickets go under $200, I'm definitely pulling the trigger. I got them at $188, went to the show. John Summit's crowd is notorious for just not being very plur, which is peace, love, unity, respect, which is one of the pillars of the rave community. John's crowd is very fratty and drunk and just messy and aggro. And so being in that space as well and needing to transmute and figure out my own energy and find my own pocket of space and just observe. And it's really cool, like getting to go to these spaces and practice all of these things that I've been learning in real time, in real energy. And I had so many downloads on the dance floor. I shared a lot of them on Instagram. I'll probably do some separate posts about those. But this entire month has been so transformative. I feel like I've learned and grown so much. I built so many beautiful connections. I made so many friends. I had so many twists and turns and unexpected lessons, as everything is. But it's like, you know, when you're moving around and you're traveling all the time and you're meeting new people and you're having new experiences, you have the opportunity to grow in hyper speed. And I really feel like that is what has been evolving for me. So that is my month recap. Coming up, I am starting my somatic DJ course in 2 weeks, which I'm very excited about. I have been doing my pre-homework for that, but I truly feel like that is about to change the absolute game. And as I've been thinking about this upcoming month, I've been thinking about September, I've been thinking about all the things that I've been doing and running around and this and that, and the word that has come to me in terms of what my intention is for this coming month is discipline. My desire is to lock in starting today, focusing on my goals, what I'm building, what I'm desiring to work towards, focusing on my physical body, drinking water, moving my body, eating healthy, and really seeing what can happen in the next few months if I truly lock in, if I say no to distractions, and I get super clear and come up with a consistent plan of what is about to unfold. I'm so excited for all of the things that are happening. This past month has been an absolute whirlwind, and I'm so grateful for all the lessons and all the medicine and all the wisdom. Thank you all for being a part of this journey, for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.